Dinesh, also, you said, why could you only bring up this one example? Take your pick. The date of Jesus' crucifixion, whether they're to take a staff or not to take a staff, the dating of Jesus flipping the tables at the temple, Mary Magdalene and what she says at the tomb, when the temple curtain rips. In the Gospel of Luke, it says that this happens before Jesus' death, and in the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, it says that it happens afterwards. We can go through any of these contradictions that you like, but the problem is that what you're going to tell me is that it's trivial, and then when I try to explain that it's not trivial, you say, oh, well, I haven't even heard of it, and no one else really cares about this. When other people do, by the way, this is a highly discussed point of contention in the Gospel. All I'm asking you to do is say that this is... when I mentioned the staff in my opening statement, and I said that whether or not they take a staff is a totally trivial contradiction, I'm not bothered by that. If I were a Christian, I would say, yeah, of course, because the texts are not going to perfectly accord. But for some reason, Augustine could not accept this, and so comes up with this ludicrous idea of a literal staff and a metaphorical staff that Jesus is talking about. If you were willing to just say, yes, this is a contradiction, but that doesn't upset the method of Christianity, I think it would be a much more defensible and respectable approach, but instead it seems that you're unwilling to admit that there's even a single contradiction in these texts.
I am saying that the texts are written from 4 different points of view.
Do they contradict each other?
And it is quite possible that on details, Matthew tells you things that are not in Mark, or different than Mark. Contradict Mark.
Contradict Mark.
Yes, contradict Mark. And so the point is, here's my point. You're acting...
Contradict Mark? Matthew contradict Mark? No. We're going to answer this alleged contradiction, but it's not contradiction. Okay, let's answer this contention by other people, what Alex O'Connor said, that this is the highly contention of the other people. That means this is not his invention. This is not his personal assessment, or this is not what his personal study. This, contradiction is based on what people said, and he doesn't have any investigation for himself. He just relied from other people and used their argument against us as a Christian and followers of the Lord Jesus Christ to attack the Bible, in order to throw some dirt in our face. Your gospel is unreliable, but he himself doesn't do any research or check the verses whether this is a contradiction. So that means he was just relying on someone's word, not necessarily his own research and the accounts.
And then when I try to explain that it's not trivial, you say, oh, well, I haven't even heard of it and no one else really cares about this. When other people do, by the way, this is a highly discussed point of contention in the Gospel.
Everything that he said, that there is a contradiction, I can prove to you that's not a contradiction, that those are not contradicting each other. Let me pick something that he said, okay? When the curtain temple rips, the Gospel of Luke, it says it happens before Jesus' death, and in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark, it happens afterward. So we will check the verse, okay? We will jump right away to the verses so that we can solve this argument and this contradiction in their mind. If you're not familiar with the verse, to that little clue of the Bible, then that's the problem.
There's a man who's dead on the floor and there's a pool of blood, and you start looking for little clues. You look for a fingerprint, and you look for a hair, and somebody says, what are you doing? You're looking for a hair. There's a dead body here. Well, yes, but to solve the crime, you've got to find something small. So it is with the Bible. If you want to know what the Bible is, sometimes you have to look for small things. Give you a second, really small thing.
Okay, let's go jump to the verse. Let me read first Luke chapter 23, verse 44 up to 46. Okay, chapter 23 of the book of Luke, so that we have side-to-side comparison. When did really the temple rips? And you will know the answer. What is really the answer? It was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour. For the sun stopped shining. This is a wrong translation of stop shining. No, the sun never stopped shining. In KJV, the sun was darkened. Of course, there's some stuff in our heaven, the heaven we have. There's some stuff there. The cloud could block the sun so that it was darkened, right? So it's not if you read the NIV, so this NIV is a little bit awkward. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two. So basically, this is the time where Jesus Christ is, when Jesus Christ was dying in the cross. Okay, Jesus called out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." So that's the spirit of the Son. Okay, so let's jump to Matthew and compare this account. Okay, whether there is a certain contradiction. And take note, what he said is when did the curtain rip? Okay, when did the curtain rip or torn into two? Was it before his death or afterward? So that is his argument. Okay, it's in Mark chapter 15. Let's read the account of Mark chapter 15, verse 37. With a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. The curtain of the temple was torn into two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood there in front of Jesus heard his cry, and saw how he died, he said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." Okay, so that's the account of Mark. So you will notice in Luke, let's go back to Luke chapter 23, verse 44. It was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour. For the sun was darkened, and the curtain of the temple was torn into two. And Jesus called out in a loud voice. So you will notice that Luke doesn't say anything here, whether it is after Jesus breathed his last or after he died. Luke just gives the account that the sun was darkened and the curtain temple was torn in two. Okay? So now, what he said about this, is it happens, where did he get this question? Was it after his death or afterward? Where did he get that idea?
And then when I try to explain that it's not trivial, you say, "Oh well, I haven't even heard of it, and no one else really cares about this." When other people do, by the way, this is a highly discussed point of contention in the gospel.
Okay, it's in the misinterpretation of the verse in Matthew's account. Okay, let me read to you. Okay, this is very interesting. Okay, so for the first time, probably he doesn't get any answer. That's why he always challenges everybody about this, Alledge contradictions, but it's not. What we're going to do is to check the verse itself. Let's go to Matthew 27, verse 50. And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. That means he died. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two. So that's the time the curtain of the temple was torn into two from top to bottom. Okay? The earth shook and the rocks split. Probably this is the reason why the curtain was torn into two, because of the earthquake. Yeah, it makes sense, right? And then, in verse 52, this is the answer. This is the little clue that could give us the answer. Verse 52, the tombs broke open, and the bodies of many holy people who died had raised to life. They found out probably later after the earthquakes, right? It makes sense also that the tombs broke open because of the earthquake. And many holy people who have died were raised to life. Take note the word raised to life. When did it happen? They came out of the tombs, and after Jesus' resurrection, they went into holy city and appeared to many people. They came out of the tombs. Okay, and after Jesus' resurrection, they went in the holy. This is after Jesus' resurrection. What is that? Ripping of the curtain temple? No. This is the tombs broke open in bodies of many people who had died, raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection. It's not the reaping of the temple, but the resurrection of when Jesus Christ was resurrected. This is the time Jesus' resurrection, not the reaping of the temple, but the bodies of the holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs, and after Jesus' resurrection, this is where they get their misinterpretation. They thought that this is the reaping of the temple. This is a separate story. This is a different timeline. Okay, now the supporting verse is here in Isaiah 26. Let me read to you. Okay, this is, I told you this is very interesting, okay? And now we will also unlock where this holy people, where is this holy city? They thought that that is Jerusalem. No. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 26. I will prove to you that after resurrection is not the reaping of the temple, but the people whom Jesus Christ raised from the dead. Okay? I said Jesus raised them from the dead because that was he said in the book of John. I will read to you later on. Isaiah chapter 26 verse 16. Let me read to you in KJV because it's not in the NIV. Probably the NIV, does not get the proper translation. Thy dead men shall live together with my dead body. Shall they arise? Okay. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust. It says here in the NIV, I will just, add the word my dead body. But your dead will live, with my dead body will rise. You who dwell in the dust, wake up and shout for joy. Rejoice like the dew of morning. Go, my people, verse 20, enter your rooms and shut the doors behind you. Hide yourself for a little while until the wrath has passed by. Okay. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers. Okay, so where is that holy city? Okay, where is this holy city and appeared to many people? Where is that? In Hebrews 11:35. This is the resurrection. The author of Hebrews told us that was the resurrection during the time of the Lord's resurrection. When the Lord Jesus Christ raised from the dead, all the holy peoples in the Old Testament, that's the Old Testament saints, was raised to life also. Okay? Here in, I will read to you later on, as I promised, okay? Let me read to you in, where's that holy city? Hebrews 11 verse 35. Women receive back their dead, raised to life again. Raised to life again. That's the resurrection of the Old Testament saints during the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. They raised to life also. Where is this holy city? And it says like this. This is the city where they entered. Okay? People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have not opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country. This is the holy city, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared a city for them. This is the country, okay, the city where that dead who raised to life went into. And it showed to many that is the Old Testament saints. That's their brothers in the Old Testament. They gathered to their brothers, okay? That's the word of the Lord Jesus Christ here in John. Let me read to you in John chapter 5, okay? That's the word of the Lord Jesus Christ in John chapter 5. Verse 25. I tell you the truth. A time is coming and has now come. You will notice the word, the present tense, and has now come. Okay? When the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. That's the resurrection of the Old Testament saints. Okay. Now there's another coming resurrection. This is the resurrection of those who are in the New Testament. Okay. In our time. Okay. Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming. That is when Jesus Christ comes in the second coming. Okay. When all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good will be raised to live. And then you have to slash that. And those who have done evil will rise to be condemned. That's the second resurrection. Okay, that's the second resurrection. The first resurrection that mentioned in the Bible is the resurrection of the New Testament saints, okay, those who follow the Lord Jesus Christ. But the Old Testament, this is the verse 25, John 5:25. I tell you the truth, a time is coming and has now come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. So there is no contradiction. They concluded that the reaping of the temple is also after his resurrection in Matthew 20. It looks like when that in the perspective of the one reading the verse. But Matthew said it happens during the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. Is not the reaping of the temple, but actually the resurrection of the Old Testament saints. Okay, so there is no contradiction, Alex O'Connor.
Take your pick. The date of Jesus' crucifixion, whether they're to take a staff or not to take a staff, the dating of Jesus flipping the tables at the temple, Mary Magdalene and what she says at the tomb, when the temple curtain rips. In the Gospel of Luke, it says that this happens before Jesus' death, and in the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, it says that it happens afterwards. Like, we can go through any of these contradictions that you like, but the problem is that what you're going to tell me is that it's trivial, and then when I try to explain that it's not trivial, you say, oh, well, you know, I haven't even heard of it, and no one else really cares about this, when other people do, by the way. This is a highly discussed point of contention in the Gospel. All I'm asking you to do is say that...
Okay, that's what other people do. So you heard it from them. You did not investigate, you did not check it by yourself. You just rely on what they are saying and then use that argument against us. Against the Christian, against those who believe the Bible, that the Bible is true, and they're using, it's like picking others people dirt and throw that to our face, and said, no, this is what people are saying. No, you did not investigate the Bible. You did not check the Bible by yourself. I believe, and I 100% believe, that you don't have any idea of the deep mysteries of the Scriptures. That's what I believe. Okay? From now on, I warn all those people who said that there is a contradiction in the Bible. I would say this: you will be ashamed, and you are going to slap your own face. Shoot yourself in the foot if you're doing that. I'm here to answer all those alleged contradiction, but it's not a contradiction. I'm here right now, so you cannot escape. I'm telling you, you shoot yourself in the foot, and you will be out of the ring if you use that argument that there is a contradiction in the Bible. Barterman, you shoot yourself in the foot. Shame on you. Shame to all of you who said that there is a contradiction. Okay? I'm here, and I have the treasures of New and Old Testament. Matthew 13:52. But I will not give that to you in one shot. I will give you the treasures of New and Old, the explanation of Genesis, all these mysteries, but slowly. because there are many thieves out there. So keep following me, and you will see a lot of new things in our time. You expect more insights in the scriptures by God's grace, because the Lord appeared to me as he appeared to Solomon. Okay, God bless, and see you again in my next video. God bless.